you guys, and welcome to Dr. Holland's music class. So I wanted to come on here and share with you a technique for teaching rhythm to my first graders that I've started, I do every year, but this is the week that they're starting on it. We've done steady beat, we've done how to handle certain instruments and things like that. So now it's time to start learning quarter note, eighth note, and quarter rest. So I use the cold A method, so we do ta, ti, ti, and sh for the rest. So just wanted to share with you what I do. So the first thing that I do is I have 4 of the kids bring their chairs forward, and they set their chairs up in the front of the room facing their classmates, and each of them sit in the chair. And I explain to the students that the chair is a steady beat, and the people or person within the chair represents the sound. So I go through and I ask them, okay, chair number 1, how many people do we see in the chair? And they say 1. And okay, so I say that's 1 sound on 1 beat. Then I go to chair number 2 and I say, how many people do we see in this chair? Now some of the times you'll get them to say 2 because they're counting the total number of people. So I remind them, no, I'm looking specifically at this 1 chair. And they say 1. Okay, so that's 1 sound per beat. Then I go to the next chair and the next chair, and I do it for all 4 of the chairs. I have this smart notebook file that I created. I call it Hearts and Notes. You can find that file on my Teachers Pay Teachers shop. It's completely free. I don't charge for my items on Teachers Pay Teachers. I've got several Music K8 lyric PowerPoints that I've created. They're all created by me. I make sure not to use any, I don't put anything up that anybody else has created. They're all created by me, but I've also got the Hearts and Notes Smart Notebook file. So if you have Smart Notebook, or you want to kind of see the previews to see what it looks like, I have 4 hearts laid out with the first heart being bigger on the screen, and then I have the quarter note, the double eighth note, and the quarter rest, and I've set them to infinite cloner, so I can pull as many down as I want to create the patterns. So once we've talked about the chairs and how the sound is on each of the beat with the chairs using the person, I will show them, okay, if we're wanting to make 1 sound on 1 beat, we use this picture. Well, just this little item here. So I pull them each one down under the hearts, and then I let them know what it is called. It is called a ta, and it represents 1 sound on 1 beat. Then what I do is have one of the kids get up out of the chairs. I usually pick chair number 3 or chair number 4, and then I go through the chairs again. When I get to the chair that's empty, I ask them, how many do you see on the beat? And they say 0. I say, okay, do we take the chair away, the beat away, because there's no sound on it? And sometimes they'll say yes, and I'll give them that, are you sure look? And then sometimes they'll say, no, we don't do that. So I put the chair back and say, no, we don't ignore the beat just because there's not a sound on it. That's where we call it the rest, the beat of silence. And so I'll redo the rhythm, putting the beat of silence, the quarter rest, on whatever beat I've put it on, either beat 3 or 4. And so they get ta and shook. And then I ask, get that kid back to come to their chair. And then I ask one of the students, usually again, beat 2 or beat 4, and I'll ask them, okay, pick someone in the class to come sit in the chair with you. And so they'll pick somebody, 2 people in the chair. So I'll go down the chairs again, and when I get to the chair that has the 2 people, I say, now how many people do we see in the chair? And they'll say 2. I said, okay, well that's 2 sounds on 1 beat. And so once again, I'll come back to the Hearts and Notes file, and I'll create the rhythm, but this time we'll put TT that corresponds with the chair, the 2 kids that were sitting in it. And it's really quick way for them to visualize the concept of sounds on a beat, no sounds on a beat, things like that. And then after that, I'll have the original 4 sit in some empty chairs that I have in the room, and then I'll go around the room and pick, let's say, 4 people and say, okay, you have to fit yourself into 3 chairs. 1 chair must be left empty. So now they've got to figure out, okay, how are we going to make the 4 of us fit into only 3 chairs? So they figure out person, double, and then nobody in the next chair. And, they're just whatever chairs they decide to use. And then maybe I'll pick 3 people for the next group and say, okay, you can only sit in 2 of the chairs. 2 must be left empty. So it really depends on the number of students that I have in the room. If I have 5 kids that are doing something, I'll say, okay, you can fit yourselves in all 4 chairs. So it just, how fast do you want the activity to go? How many students do you have in the room? And each time they create a rhythm in the chairs using themselves, I will recreate it on the board using my infinite cloner on the quarter note, eighth note pattern, and the quarter rest. And then so we'll speak the rhythms as we do that. Okay, so there's a song that I use with Boomwhackers after we have learned ta, tt, and sh, and it's called Wackaroos. It comes from a Boomwhacker book that I inherited, and it's got a CD with it, that I inherited from the teacher that was at the school before me. And it puts the Boomwhackers into three groups. We call them group 1, group 4, group 5, for the tonic, the subdominant, and the dominant chords. Although I don't tell the kids that, I just tell them I just didn't feel like using 1, 2, 3, so we're going to use 1, 4, 5. And then the pattern is T, T, ta, T, T, ta, T, 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 ta, sh. And the second line, T, 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 ta, sh. So we learned it, and then I put the Boomwhackers out. They all play it together on the Boomwhackers, and then we go through the groups, and then I have each group play it, and then we go through the song. Really, really cute song. I'll post the link for the book in the description of the video because I can't think of it off the top of my head right at this moment, so I'm going to look it up. But it comes with a really cool CD, and there's a lot of cool other stuff in that book too. So like Boomwhacker Talk is a great introduction to Boomwhackers, and that's kind of the first thing I do to introduce sound on the beat, because they do walk to represent the chord note, they do tiptoe to represent eighth notes, they do skippa, they do stomp to represent a half note. And you can probably hear the lawnmower right now. My husband's in the background mowing the lawn. But we use that, and I explained to them, guess what? You've already done multiple sounds on a beat. When you guys did tiptoe, you were doing eighth notes. When you did walk, you were doing quarter notes, or ta and tt is the terminology I use with them. And so it all just kind of leads in. So I use this one book for 2 songs to create this, and then I use the chairs to create the understanding of the how the beats sit on top of the rhythms sit on top of the steady beats. He's passing the window again. So I hope this is helpful to you. Make sure to look at the link in the description for the book that I got these 2 songs out of. And I hope this is a fun technique that you can find to use with your kids. And if you have a board, you don't have to use the Hearts and Notes file. You can always write it on a chalkboard or a whiteboard or whatever you have, or whatever program that you use for your smartboard, if you have smartboard in your room. But definitely check out my Teachers Pay Teachers for that Hearts and Notes file if you would like to. And remember that I have other things listed there, some Music K PowerPoints, some worksheets that go along with the Music Play Online Rhythm Composer and Staff Composer. So I love promoting other teachers and their content on Teachers Pay Teachers, but I got to promote mine sometimes. So go check that out, and make sure to follow me on TikTok, Instagram. Go check out my website, Dr. Holloman's music class at it's lmhmusicteacher.wixsite.com/mysite. And like I said before, I'm on TikTok and Instagram, always posting new content. We got some ukulele content coming up, and if you ever have any questions or any things you want me to talk about, or techniques that you've used you'd love for me to put out for other people to use, I am here. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you guys can use this lesson that I've used for my kids for years and years and years, and they love it, and it's a great way for them to understand the concept of rhythm and the number of sounds on a beat. So I will see you later. Make sure to go like, share, and subscribe, and see you guys in the next one. Bye.